The solar panel didn't come with a connector, it just came with two wires. The brown one is positive and the blue one is negative. And here we have this connector, which I didn't use. It came with the 1.5 watt panel, but still has the same universal connector with it. And these connectors can go on either end. They could be the female or male end depending on the polarity of the wires. So as you can see here, this is meant to charge a car via the cigarette lighter port. I don't have a car, so I have no use for it, but I do want to take off the connector and put it on the panel. As you can see here, the wire with a line in it is the positive wire and the black wire is the negative wire. But since we're wiring this in reverse, because instead of an output it is now an input, that means that the black wire is positive and the white wire is going to be negative. So let's cut it off and strip back our wires and connect them together. Okay, so once again, the black wire with the line is positive, and it's going to go to the positive connection, which is the brown wire. And how we're going to do this is we're going to do that thing where you wire your connectors in this format, so it's a straight line, and then we're going to solder over it. So this should be a very strong connection by itself alone, but to protect it even more, we're going to solder over it, and then we're going to do hot glue and electrical tape to seal it up permanently and insulate the wire. This looks like a pretty good connection covered in solder, and it's pretty strong. It should actually be stronger than the wire, though I wouldn't really put any tension on these wires anyway. Now for the next one. Okay, so we're finished soldering, and you can see we have connectors pretty good now. So what we're going to do is we are going to insulate these wires, and also there's this area right here, and it is missing a cover for the connections of the wires. We are not going to put this panel outside, or at least I don't think so. It wouldn't make very much power anyway, and the cable is still pretty short. I would need to make an extension, and I would use more of these connectors to do that if I were to do that. And I would also have to make a stand for that, which I could with aluminum. But we're not going to put the panel outside right now, but we still want to cover this up and have an option to put it outside in the future. Is two pieces of plastic which I glued together with hot glue. How it works is that it goes over this piece. The reason that I had to use two pieces instead of one is because this bevels up a little bit, so we have to provide room for that. What we're going to do now is we're going to cover this in electrical tape and then hot glue this down to seal up our wire connections. Before I put down the electrical tape, I'm going to put down some hot glue just to secure the electrical tape more in place better. just as we did for the first part, the end also gets hot glue. Now we just need to put it down in place. Also, I connected the wires. The wires will also get hot glue. You can see where the wire's splitting here. How I stripped it, there's a split right here. I'm going to seal this up so it doesn't split anymore or let any elements into the shielding of the wire. We're also going to go across to make sure that the electrical tape stays in place. Alright YouTube, so obviously now it is night and we're not producing any power whatsoever, but I have mounted my 5-watt panel right there. You can see the cover of the box that I made for it. Right now it's inside. I actually put it along the window. Actually, the window here, it has another lip just like it does at the top where the 1.5 watt panel is now mounted. So I could easily mount it here with just a few pieces of tape. If the tape comes off, it's still held by the lip, and this also gives us more slack on the wire, which is pretty short. Even though I did extend it by making that adapter, I added a few, I'd say 9 inches maybe, but as you can see right here, that here is the connection which I made, covered in electrical tape with hot glue. It's pretty solid, as well as our power connection, which is here. You can see just a normal standard connection, like if it were a Harbor Freight panel. Harbor Freight does not actually produce 5-watt panels anymore. Now they only produce all of the 1.5 watt panels and the 15 watt panels, which there's a big difference in size there by 10 times. If you want a different panel, they also have the phone charger ones, but those are kind of different, and there's one with the batteries. There's also the one that flips open, but if you just want a standard connector like this where you can plug it in to your hub and add more power, this is probably the only way you gotta go, just to add a monocrystalline panel into a Harbor Freight solar panel system. It'll give you an interesting combination of solar panel types, with Harbor Freight primarily selling amorphous panels. I believe that they do have the monocrystalline and polycrystalline panels at Harbor Freight for like the smaller panels on their security systems or whatever, maybe. But if you're gonna go there and buy something to get some serious power out of, it's gonna be amorphous, and those have serious disadvantages with some monocrystalline. Some of them do not. This does produce quite a bit of power. I have put it up in the daytime by itself before. Once again, I have had this panel for many years. Actually, it's the oldest one out of all of them here. It does work pretty good, but the voltage on it is rather low comparatively to the other two panels. But once again, you do get a lot of wattage for your surface area, and that's what you would want with your monocrystalline panels. So even though it may be a better idea just to get one of these monocrystalline panels that's say 35 watts, and you would have a better system than all of this, and those are pretty cheap too, but you gotta buy them online, and the shipping is probably expensive. Even though they are smaller than the amorphous panels, they're still pretty big, and awkwardly sized. But even though it's still probably a better way to do it. But this is how I'm doing it. It appears to be working. I don't have really anything that demanding of a load to put on the system anyway. So I hope you can find out how to do it yourself. Build a solar panel system. Just stick some panels on your window, connect them together. It's not that hard. If you have to make an adapter, just do some simple wiring and you will be good no matter which different brands. You do not have to commit yourself to one.